ETC 2019 Poland vs Spain. Without further ado, let's go to the roster. The roster consists of the usual Undying Dynasties suspects, the Hourglass Master, the Support Evocation, the Support Cosmology with Book of Arcane Mastery. Units in this roster are relatively small, but plenty. What's interesting is that this roster is perfectly tailored for the skill cap. Notice the lack of musicians. Here we are presented with first piece of a great advice. If you are shitty at making reforms, don't take musicians. Also, fuck Vermin Swarm. The battlefield. We played Counter Trust. I lost the roll for the first drop, so I picked bottom side. I knew I was going for blood, and the top side is free of dangerous terrain tests. The deployment. After the third drop from my opponent, he dropped his entire army and went for the first turn, from left to right. There are cataphracts and fast cavalry, chariot unit, 5 shaptis, skeletons with mages, 3 vultures, 8 shaptis, and 3 chariots on far right flank. As usual, let's focus on deployment and what I did to derive maximum value from my units. My Sea God start the battle in a wonky formation, but this is due to me wanting to push my opponent out with the Counter Trust deployment. First, let's talk about Bolt Thrower's position. The maximum value unit to shoot at in this specific matchup are the chariots on the left. They have a champion, a hero inside, and there is really not a lot of them. Given enough resources, with the Lion Guard perfectly countering the 4 cataphracts and with Shaptis being only 5 models strong, this is the only unit that can pose any threat to my reign on this flank. This is why I don't need any Bolt Thrower at the right. I put one behind Ruins, the other ones in the corner behind Lion Guard. They will somehow move and I will get a clear shot to the chariots. Last Bolt Thrower is sitting on a hill as far back as possible. Next, the Lion Guard. I just put them in front of fast cavalry, in front of cataphracts. For spears, I want them to serve as sort of a block for his chariots. Should my opponent move too close, I would just charge with the spears in this silly formation with champion up top and happily take a -2 or a -3 break check on 3 dice just to pin the chariots in place. Giving greater frontage would only mean that I trade more bodies for greater break check. Finally, the position of these units is completed by Knights of Rima on the right, who are over 36 inches from the Shapti unit. Lane Reavers, who are far away from chariots, so if they want to shoot them, they will get countercharged by Knights of Rima. And the Dragon. It is positioned somewhat at the back, because in my opponent's first turn of magic, I want to achieve that he is forced to use his Relentless Banner to enter the spell's range. Dragon is vulnerable only to 5 Shapti shots. Onto Undying Dynasties, turn 1. In general, you do know that you made a good job of your deployment if your opponent is doing only minor rearrangement to his positions. And so it happened here. The entire army approaches without steam. I tank magic on spears, and unfortunately the 5 Shaptis put 1 wound on the dragon, but that's all that my opponent was able to derive from his first turn. In my turn 1, I do the following moves. Let's start with the easiest ones. Lion Guard are put on a roll of 11 from chariots. Rimanites position themselves to a lock with 3 chariots. Lane Reavers skip behind a hill to not get shot down by Shaptis. Spearmen reform and the mage joins them in case Sea God happen to be in combat. Finally, the big gambit. The Dragon. The plan at this moment is the following. I will focus all I have on chariots. I will bait a charge on a dragon. I will do a cover fire with Sea God and then joyfully declare a flee with the dragon. He will be most likely behind spearmen. The dragon will rally in turn 2, move in turn 3 and turn 4, and by turn 5 he will be in combat somewhere. It is important that this play in this specific deployment and scenario is really potent because we are playing Breakthrough, and the dragon is the perfect piece to zone out any unwelcome guests in my deployment zone. In the magic and shooting phase, the dice are quite good for me. I absolutely decimate the chariots, leaving only 2 wounds on the hero and 4 wounds on the chariot unit. I feel confident in how this game is going on. The Sea God still have rerolls to hit on them from magic phase. I feel like this move with the dragon really paid off, and now I am in a good shape to claim the game. Undying Dynasties, turn 2. To my surprise, my opponent declares the charge with remaining chariots. It turns out that he didn't know how the cover fire rule works. 30 Sea Guards with rerolls to hit shoot at the chariot. The volley fire does a magnificent 2 wounds. This means I have 4 wounds of toughness 4 charging at me. I weigh my options. Even if he gets to me, it's unlikely he'll kill me. With chariot losses that he has sustained, he needs to roll a 7 to get to me, so there is still a possibility to fail. Even if he gets into combat and doesn't kill me outright, it's possible that dragon in return will kill the chariot unit. Notice that there will be impact hits only from 2 chariot models, assuming that he will raise a model, as his hero will most likely refuse the challenge. I weigh all these options in my head and decide to use my dragon's breath as a stand and shoot weapon. I need to put 2 wounds on any model. Unfortunately, I put only 1 wound on each. Then my opponent unbarrows 2 of his scorpions. One wisely blocks the Lion God, for the very likely scenario that the dragon is alive and well. The other blocks the Sea God for the same reason. Cataphracts, his fast cavalry, and his 3 chariots are reluctant to come forward, so they back up a little bit. Shaptis casually advance. In combat I am met with a terrible magic phase. My opponent buffs the chariots to infinity as I fail to dispel a single spell. The dragon survives the impact hits, claims 4 wounds in return with Rider, but then succumbs to the rest of the attacks. This is the worst possible outcome for the dragon. But even though my opponent cheers loudly, the situation is not that bad. Look at what's going on, analyze with me, and see for yourself. Lion Guard are unblocked and will begin their glorious rite of chipping through redirectors from turn 2 onwards. The chariots are severely decimated and very unlikely to survive another round of magic, shooting, and stand and shooting. The only real threat is the 8 Shaptis in the middle, but I have a perfect response for that. I've decided to use my opponent's units against him. I have moved outside line of sight of Scorpion. In this way, the Sea Guards can't be charged by Shaptis, as they can't wheel around the Scorpion. And the Scorpion can't charge anywhere. He doesn't have range to the bolt thrower, and he doesn't see any other unit. I still had my fast cavalry for the next turn. I moved back with Sea God, and I evaporated the chariots and begin my deadly push with Lion God. Undying Dynasty's turn 3 is uneventful. My opponent advances to kill the Sea God, but he does so without appropriate thought, which will backfire on him very hard in a few minutes. The Scorpion pushes, the Lion Guard are redirected again, and the Shaptis advance. I take some losses from magic and shooting. Finally, my turn 3. What you are about to see is the pinnacle of proper units positioning. All of this has been pre-measured and executed with precision so high that even after my opponent decided to take his measuring tape, and I quote here, "Let's see what the reality is," he was unable to break through my superior position. Unfortunately, I guess he managed to get his due, as the stalling that was the result of opponent not grasping the basics of geometry forced us to end the battle prematurely, when the position was very much in my favor. Let's analyze the maneuver now. Sea Guards charge the Scorpion. They will reform afterwards. I found the following sweet spot for my Elaine Reavers. If the big unit charges, only 2 Shaptis will be in contact with Sea Guards. This is because they have to wheel and move around a lane reverse. And fighting with 2 Shaptis is way better for me than fighting with 4, for reasons that I think are obvious. The small unit can charge Sea Guards, but this is just a small unit with no rending banner. I am more than happy to take it, kill it, and reform in my opponent's turn. What about charging the lane reverse and overrun to Sea Guards? Well, that's not possible, because the maximization move that would overrun into Sea Guard is not permitted. Notice how the corner of the Shapti is on the footprint of Sea Guards. So they have to be positioned like this, and in effect, they can't overrun. Finally, it is impossible to charge the Sea Guards with 2 units and force them to close the door, because they will hit the corner of a lane reverse first. This is just not enough space to put 2 units in there. Both of the Shapti units are in my front. My opponent decided to charge the Sea Guard units with 8 Shaptis. This is a superb engagement for me, and even though I rolled poorly, I managed to kill 3 Shaptis. Again, the smell of blood was well in the air. Lion Guard just munched through the 3rd redirector. Unfortunately, this turn, my 4th, was declared by the judge to be the last turn of the game. From this situation, the outcome and the moves to be done are clear. Lion Guard killed the redirector and killed Cataphracts in next turn. Knights of Rima would support the Shapti fight, together with Sea Guards that would be a swipe. Magic and shooting is focused on last unit of 5 Shaptis, and they also would have a hard time surviving. At this stage there is just no counterplay available for my opponent, and this game is a clear 20-0 win, even with early unfortunate dragon loss. So what was the deciding factor? I'm guessing it's gonna be a little bit boring at this point, but you guessed it, is the deployment. Going with Cataphracts on the side, blocked with big Chariots units next to them, that was just a death sentence for this unit. This is 500 points of absolutely no value derived, and another 500 points of redirectors that went to feed the Lion Guard. If these Cataphracts were on the other flank, then they could at least try to do something. Maybe scare the Rima Knights, maybe take a Bolt Thrower, maybe flank charge Sea Guard, like anything. Just don't die to Lion Guard after you feed them 3 redirectors before. Thank you very much for watching. This is it for this video, and until next time, bye.